4, 3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, we live in the real world where there are consequences of action. We tell you that for every stroke of a brush on a canvas, or every phrase typed out that form a book, these are embodiments of ideologies that are carried and spread throughout society, and the point in which there's a chance that these things can be manipulated, especially when they incite incitement and incite violence and other forms of hostility, is the point in which we no longer are okay with it. There are 3 reasons why side opposition cannot win this debate. Firstly, on the level and degree of responsiveness, to a large extent, opposition case did not evolve, and a lot of the responses presuppose 3 things. Firstly, that expression is something good, and we already told you that this particular expression is not absolute, and your capacity to be able to express yourself should not come at the expense of other people not feeling safe, not feeling secure, and potentially being hurt. Secondly, they assume benevolence of intention of the artist and the people consuming. We think that this debate isn't about banning it, right? This debate is a comparison of values in which we tell you, even if there are good intentions of artists, and even if there are good intentions of people consuming that art, the very fact that it's subjective places a lot of risk, and we think that's not something we're willing to take. And lastly, we think the strongest idea on their case is that we need to use this as a last resort to be able to fight. We tell you, yeah, that sounds good in terms of rhetoric, but it's not effective, because we think that the point in which these art are being able to be used, you turn off the very people who are supporting you. We told you about the idea of politicians and donors who are very important to be able to give money to these particular movements. And the point in which they see these things become muddled and all these toxic politics is the point in which you lose support, you lose capital, and they pull out, leaving the movement weaker and people feeling even more disenfranchised. Secondly, in terms of burden fulfillment, right? We in government explain to you why it does more harm than good, and we actually nuanced it to this being good for the movement. We tell you that no, it doesn't strengthen the movement, and even if you have good intention, even if you have non-violent art, and even if you have benevolent artists, it's just not worth the risk. Why? Because we told you that your ability and intention to express yourself should not come at the consequence of, number 1, people's physiological safety, wherein there literally are riots and infighting that we gave you. We gave you clear, real-world examples. On the other side, you didn't get much. Secondly, we talked to you about the emotional damage that you actually get from this, which ultimately harm your capacity to be able to make good choices, and we think that that weakens the movement from within. And lastly, we told you how it backtracks the progress they've already made. Because on their side, they cherry-picked to you a lot of frames, even to the extent that opposition reply had to kind of argue and give you a new idea of empathy coming from their side, which we didn't get from their constructive material. Regardless of these things having good intention, it's not worth the risk that happens if they're allowed to perpetuate. Last reason, why do we take this debate by a clear margin? Simply because on their side, we create nothing but an illusion of progress, because you feed people the capacity that they think they're working harder because they're jacked up, they're visceral, they're angry, and they're pumped. But we think that that is a lie. It is not working harder. It is not working smarter. It's you thinking and creating an illusion that because you're angry, you're making some sort of progress. Like in the POI I mentioned, if you want to strengthen these movements, you tell them to improve their argument as opposed to raising their voice, as opposed to looking at art as a means to be able to channel outrage. And we think that the fact that emotions can be manipulated is the point in which we stand our ground and we win from side government. Thank you.